Okay. I'm going to start from the very beginning, just to go over the very, very beginning details. We're working on the Eliza project, which is an embodied AI for M3 based on another project called Thoth. Thoth has a long history, but it is an open source project that anybody can download, and you download it here. So Eliza the Coder, Project Eliza. Eliza has her own GitHub. And if you have any issues, please post them here in the issues. This is where we can actually tackle them and try and, fix some of the issues. For Thoth itself, most of those issues are actually Thoth bugs, but it's good for those to be tracked separately since this is mostly bigger formatting and it's kind of, it's separate. And we'll probably move to an M3 org Thoth build or repo. But for now, it's over at the Nexus, and this is where everything is. You clone it. Once you've cloned it, you will go to the repo, npm install, and then npm run dev. And if you can't get install to work, you might have to do -- legacy peer devs. You're also going to need Docker installed if you want to run the Docker containers, which contain the database, vector search, all the services in the backend. And it's easiest to run this in WSL2 or Linux, but it should just run anywhere. Okay. I have a running server here. My actual debugs for what's going on in the server and everything generally comes here. It's pretty verbose. We'll probably clean up all this logging, but right now it's just telling me that I have an agent running, and NAR is communicating with that agent, and you can see Eliza's responses, and Eliza's the agent that I have running. So back to our Thoth build. Can you guys hear me okay? It's all good?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. I'm gonna make a new character. And we're gonna make Feta, right? And I'm just gonna press create new. And we'll say Feta 0.01. I like to just version them because right now there's some things in Thoth that are a little buggy. It's good to just keep those, and then when you pass them around to other people, you can serialize. So the first thing is if I want to export this, file, export spell. And now I have a copy of it. And as I go, I can share that spell with anybody else I want. Around the UI really quick, if I click on a node, that will reveal this inspector. The inspector, there's a few things that I have to do to set up just a basic spell, and I'll start with an echo, and I'll get into a more complex spell. But I have to definitely set receive from playtest on my input because I want it to come from here. I don't know why we don't just default to receive from playtest. Maybe in the future we'll just remove this, but you have to turn on receive from playtest on the input and on the output, and it's defaulted to true on the trigger. So input and output now receive from playtest. So I have kind of my default view here. I have a playtest here, which is my console, and I can type anything I want. It triggers, but obviously there's nothing in this chain, so nothing is going to happen. I get no response. I also have a console here. This console right now clears when I switch, so I'll just drag it up here. And then it'll probably won't respond with anything, but you can see it. It actually logs the stuff coming in here as well. And it will send messages and show you the debug values of the different nodes as they run. Cool. And if I move anything, it'll clear that kind of execution view. Over here, I have the entity manager. What people typically see is this entity manager right here. Would have maybe no entities or one. I have this one entity. You can create new entities like that. And you can see that's an empty entity. Not much going on there. I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to turn that entity on. Just make sure that's running. If I change anything here, like Twilight Sparkle character, voice, I have different, like UberDuck, which is a different voice service. Maybe I'll just do that for now because it might just work better. Let's just give him Kanye's voice. How about Yoda? Is there anyone here that's not like an embarrassing character? I feel like half these people are canceled now. Well, anyway, Luigi. Sure. So it turns out that How about Karen? Karen can't, you know, I don't know. All right, we can do Luigi. It's fine. And we don't need the language code for anything but Google. But if you do want to use Google Voice, which is pretty good, they've got a bunch of these different kinds of voices. If you need that classic sort of assistant feel. Once you've done that, scroll down, enter all your information. The one really important thing here is that you select your spell handler. For some reason, this Eliza's spell handler is called Hollow Pink. For Feta, I'm going to set it to Feta when I make the entity later. This is what actually gets called by this Discord kind of area. Now, each of these, this is not very well organized, I apologize, but you can see all of these are actually Discord values. This is the spell handler that gets called with Discord. If there's an empty response and GPT-3 responds with nothing, which can happen if you say something really negative or something, sometimes it just happens, she'll say IDK. This is how she knows her name when you say, hey, Eliza. The regex, this is actually like her, the name that she looks for in the tag. And then this is the name that she looks for, like her Discord at Eliza name. Then there is also an interval update handler. This should just be blank. I don't know. And this will actually get run every like X interval, which I should debug. I don't know. It should be like every 5 minutes or something like that. And then we also have an event feed handler, same thing. So right now these should be defaulting to nothing, but they're defaulting to this test. And then we have the same thing for Twitter, Telegram, Reddit, Zoom, Slack, Instagram, Messenger, Twilio. The UX here is really bad, but there's actually a lot of like written code that's kind of messy, but does a lot of functionality at least to get the job done here. And then the last thing is that you can run a loop. This loop interval will call the loops of all of the interval update handlers in a loop if you want to. And so that way you can make it do stuff on its own without needing to be talked to by a graph. And that's a separate graph, so it can have a graph that responds to people and a graph that like does action. And both of those graphs are referencing the same database, so it's coherent, but they're different functionally. So that's kind of the here. I got a couple more views. If I were to create like a variable, oh yeah, so I can create nodes by right-clicking. If I create a variable, I'm gonna create a few shot variable. Few shot is basically like big text thing. And when I open it, it opens a plain text editor. And so this is actually where I can put a bunch of cool like data, right? About, I don't know. Let's see. I got some Fediverse information here, conveniently. Just gonna sick. Just gonna copy that. Pop that in there, and we'll see. There's obviously some formatting. I mean, that's quite a lot of information, but you know, we can actually get like most of this in there. What we should probably do is clean this up. And Noel, if you're watching and you wanted to make me one of these that didn't need the numbers, doesn't need the links to YouTube, we're just gonna put all of the world, all of the stuff that happened in Fediverse here. The way that context tends to work is the stuff at the top gets injected and is the least likely to influence the new stuff. The stuff at the bottom, the closest to your completion, is the stuff that's most likely to influence. So typically what we do is we shove all of our context data up here. All up here. And then we shove all of our non-context data, like our conversation and our memory and stuff, down here, so that it's nearer and more coherent to like what it's already said and done. So there's probably too much information here, right? We actually want to break this up. And we're going to break this up into a few things. I'm going to make this few shot variable, we're going to call it history, right? Maybe Noel, if you're watching, you can help me with this, but I'll just hack this in for now. This is the history of the Fediverse. History of the Fediverse. And we're going to get rid of some of those, although we should link the YouTube videos because they're sick, right? This looks pretty good, and we'll just go boom. Sorry, I'm just deleting the video links. we could keep them, but it's gonna be weird because the character's gonna respond with these like non sequitur endings sometimes, maybe. Cool. So that's the backstory. Following passages are the context and backstory for the Fediverse. Whoops. Awesome. And I'm just gonna do something like this. We're gonna remove these white spaces because it doesn't like white spaces. This is a lot. I'm not really sure. Like, actually, if I'm not really sure how much data I'm pushing through, I can only have so much context. If I have too much context, it overflows and OpenAI denies me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to beta OpenAI. I'm going to go to my text completion playground. What do we got? And 1645 tokens in prompt. I'm allowed to have up to 8,000, so that, like, that's probably fine. I'm just gonna roll with that. Hell yeah, that's like a great history. I've still got a lot of space for my context, my other context. Okay, so I got my history. I'm gonna save the spell just in case. Okay, and then I'm gonna show you the last kind. Well, there's a couple more parts, but a really relevant part is gonna be the event manager. But the last parts of the UI that are important right now for now. I'll just drag this over. So this event manager actually shows me all of the conversations that have been had with all the different characters. And I can see who sent it, so I can be like, what the fuck is Godfried saying to my AI? And I can go through it, I can read, and I can validate, you know, like, did he say the F-bomb? Yeah, he totally did, you know. And maybe I decided to ban him or something like that. But no, mostly I actually use this for making sure that the data is quality, that her responses are good. If there's anything garbage in here, I'm going to delete. And if I start, the most common thing is when you're setting this up and it's not right and you're getting bad responses from OpenAI, you're starting to populate this event manager with a bunch of bad events, like bad information. And then she starts working. You actually fix the bugs, you get the right OpenAI key in. But she's got like all these like, sorry, I had a completion error. So she just knows that every time anyone says anything to her, she responds with, sorry, I had a completion error. Which really sucks because you're like, why doesn't it work? And it's actually she's working perfectly. She's just got terrible prompting. So what you're going to come in and do, if you're seeing that you have event issues or you want to know what she's receiving, not the Discord, but the actual like in the brain, you come to this view and you can delete. You can also edit these things. And I believe if you type them in, you should be able to type them in, press return, and it should save. If not, we'll add that to the UX soon. It should have like an edit button. And you can also search by different agents, right? So once we have Feta in here, we can just filter by agents or whatever we need. There are a few other views here. We have the ability to create a searchable corpus entirely. Maybe it doesn't show. Why not in this view? That's pretty much it then, if the search corpus isn't exposed here. Yeah, I guess not. Cool. So that's it for the kind of the views that are currently exposed. So now we're going to get into making a character. The first thing I always do, hello world. How does this thing freaking work? Like, do I get any response? And how do I make sure that, you know, outside of all the complexity of this whole thing, how do I just make sure that the input gets to the output? Now, there's probably a bug in here still that if I tie the input to the output, it doesn't work in the way you'd expect, because this is actually designed to expect some amount of work happening in the graph, and it gets confused if the output just gets populated. It doesn't like, it like race conditions itself, basically. And so I see I typed in something, and there was actually no response. There's no response. So we have a node that you need to add, just for testing at least, called the, what is it? Should be in like some sort of utility. Echo, right? Cool. Echo. And all Echo does is it takes what you said and it responds. Right? Pretty simple. Save that. Test. Test. And you see I said test, and it responded. If I type 1, 2, 3, You can see it echoed 1, 2, 3. So all I wanted to know is the execution worked. Boom. A, B, C. Worked nice. I'm going to make this on the text editor. I'm going to need this in a second. Okay. The next thing we want to do is we want to add our OpenAI stuff to this. So go back to OpenAI, get an API key, and you're going to need to paste it down into here. If it's not pasted successfully or you're not sure if this is having issues or something, or you're having some issues with it, that should be fixed thanks to LaserShark's PR. But you can go in and you can check that it's here. And don't use that API key. I will have to cancel it now. Okay, so that's how you get the API key into here. From there, you can, well, we actually need to do something that gets us a response. So we need a cool, super smart AI. Let's see. How are we going to start this? Well, first, let's start with our input. So we're going to get input from Discord. And the Discord input is going to break this. We need this output to be actually a much more complex bit of information. Because, like, what does output mean? Here, it might just mean 1, 2, 3. But if I'm trying to plug this into Discord, I need to know who's talking to me, what channel they're talking to me on, all that kind of stuff. So we have this, all the nodes we're going to use are pretty much under one area of agents. And the first thing we need to do is we need to destructure the output into some, kind of break it out into some different pieces. So we call this the input destructure. I think the breakout could actually be a better word, but input destructure. And we got a destructure node. And what that does, I'll just break this off, is it breaks out the output into its own node, and of course the trigger. But then I also get information about the entity, which is my current actual running graph object. I have the speaker, who is actually always in the conversational model. The speaker is always the person talking to the agent, and that could be anybody. The agent is always this agent running this graph. The client is the type of client they are, Discord, Twitter, whatever. The channel, that could be DMs or public Twitter in the Twitter case. That could be DMs or a specific server in the Discord case. And then some basic room info, which in Discord or Twitter or something is like just very basic metadata, but this could be exposed as like 3D data, right? This could be the context you need about the current world, the objects in it, all that. And you could break that out into whatever you want. And then channel type. I might be a little confused, we should review, but channel is like what channel you're in, and then channel type is like, is it a DM, is it a Discord message, public message, guild message, what they call them. But usually you don't even need all of these. You mostly just need speaker, agent, and output. Those are like the three for basic getting going that you're going to use. The rest are advanced user stuff. Okay, so we have one of our contexts of history. That's pretty good. We need another context. Let's see. Well, should we do memory? We'll do memory next. I think we'll just do a very basic context first. Like, we just should do a very basic text completion, the most simple form of this, right? Which actually, I'll even say, the first version of this is we'll just go through here, get the input, send it to OpenAI, just raw, and see what it gives us back. It's going to be garbage, unusable garbage, but at least we know that our GPT-3 works. So, and we'll leave our echo there for now, but we will delete that. So I'm going to go and add an agent text completion node. In AI lingo, completions are a type of response engine and backed by a model type, which typically for us is transformers. They perform a completion. What that means is you give the first words, it gives you the next words after that. So if you're saying, perform the following task, colon, then it responds with the task. And so that's usually how we frame things in this. So text completions is what we're doing here. We'll also have other kinds of completions as well as generations, which are slightly different. So I'm just going to wire this up. The agent text completion is going to hit OpenAI, and I have to fill in some details, although these do have defaults. And I'm sorry the UI here is pretty rough. It would be nice if we like filled these in with defaults and all that stuff. But I'll walk you through, the basics of it first, so we can at least get going while it's still a pretty rough project. So I'm just going to wire up the input to the input of the destructure, and the trigger to the trigger of the destructure. So now I have my input and trigger going. That's going to hit this and break out into all these different pieces. Now, what do I actually need right now? To test OpenAI, all I really need is actually just this output, right? I'm just going to take the output that I shove in here and send it off and see what I get. And now I'm going to take the trigger, send that off, and I'm going to have to fill in a few things, right? Model name should be a default of Da Vinci, but we're going to say, let me just check my notes, text dash Da Vinci dash 003. There are a lot of different models. They have different prices. They have different speeds. They have different costs across the board, right? So you can go to OpenAI and you can consult that, and they have the different model names. But this is the best one. This is the most badass, latest thing that just came out like 2 weeks ago. So that's what we're going to use right now. If you want to use the 10 times cheaper one, you can use Text DaVinci 02, which is the older one. If you want to use the even cheaper than that, you can use Text Curie, or just type in Curie. But for us, we want Text DaVinci 03. All right, temperature. Temperature is a value between 0 and 1. Temperature is a measurement of the possible distribution of response tokens, and this is basically abstracted to how creative the character is. If you want it to be very, very wildly imaginative and hallucinatory and creative, you can give it a temperature of like 0.9, and that's fairly common for storytelling characters, actually. 1.0 would probably be pretty crazy, but 0.9 is fairly reasonable. I usually go with something more like 0.7, 0.8, and I think that's for something like the Feta. I think, I don't know, he smokes a lot of weed, so he's probably 0.85 is probably pretty good for him. Max tokens. This is how. Oh yeah, and also if you're just doing like pure informational instructional, you're probably doing more like 0, right? 0.0 temperature. But it's summarization or something like that. But you might also, like, ChatGPT probably has a temperature of like 0.2 or I don't know, 0.4 or so. Who knows? Who knows what they're actually doing? But I would make a chatbot like that at like 0.4 temperature. Max tokens, let's say, I don't know, 300. You saw that this is 1600 tokens. So 300 would probably be about like that. We probably don't want a response longer than that, right? I would assume. And that way you don't spend ungodly amounts of money. It is charged per token. Tokens are fractions of a penny each, but it does add up, especially when you got 1,000 or 2,000 of them. So our max tokens, 300. That's like a good, healthy paragraph for some code. For a code bot, you might want that to be like 2,000. You might want that to be the limit that Discord allows, basically. Top P. So generally, I set my top P to 1.0. I mean, I don't really like fully understand this value from GPT-3. It's another creativity sort of slider on top of temperature. I guess if temperature is like a multiplier of randomness, top P is more like a max total or something. But I really don't understand it very well. So there's some really good articles by, I would say, like Gwern has a good article, and maybe I'll post that, that you should really check that out. But typically, I want highly creative, and I'm usually putting 0.9 to 1.0, because in my engineering plumbing experience, I guess, that's just been what worked out for me. Frequency penalty and presence penalty. Same kind of thing. These measure repetition of tokens. So the frequency penalty is like if I say a token like Paris, I don't want to then say Paris again later in my response, right? And so it punishes, it penalizes the tokens that have already been generated as it's generating. presence penalty is kind of the same thing, but applied to the overall prompt as well as the weight in the overall model, which is like if the overall you should bias down or sort of push down the likelihood of words that were higher up in my like prompt, basically. And the reason you would want to do that is so that it again, you're controlling for an amount of repetition where it knows things, but it doesn't just say them verbatim. So I would say frequency penalty is generally regarded like abstractly as the knob that controls how much it repeats itself. And then presence penalty is the knob that's regarded as how much it repeats what you gave it as information to repeat. There's some really good like experiments on this and stuff, and I don't have all the right answers, and it really depends on the kind of bot you're trying to make. So I'll actually post this into M3. Like, there's a few different great people doing stuff, and I don't know. There's just like a lot of articles kind of around this stuff that we should experiment with and share knowledge around. The last thing is the stop code. So you can have multiple stop codes. In here, they can be delineated with a comma. A stop code might look like --n, which would be like a double line return inside of a like after a paragraph. So it's like, okay, if you did a double line return, you're probably going to start a new paragraph. And you probably need to just stop there, right, and wait for more input. But you could also have a stop code be like this, which is like a Python comment, or like that, because you programmed it to stop every time it sees that. And you could then give it a prompt where like every time it sees this stop code in the prompt, maybe I put it at the bottom, for example, because then it gets ejected or whatever. If it for some reason saw that, it would not print it. It would stop there and halt, and then send that back to you up to that point. So the stop code tells it when to stop, right? So that's pretty much it. The presence penalty and frequency penalty can be jacked up quite a lot, I think, like up to like 1 or 2. Usually we work with them pretty like, we do want them to repeat knowledge and like stuff, but not all the time, right? So we're biasing it a little bit down. Then from there, we should just be able to test this, right? We've got all the settings in. And it's just going to be garbage. And it actually did. Even though it looks almost exactly like before, you will see it just gave me nothing, right? And so I can be like, what is the square root of 4? The square root of 4 is 2. Okay, clearly OpenAI GPT-3 is working, right? We have a personality-less loop here that does something. Doesn't do much, but it does something. There's really 2 more things that we need to do to make this the minimal like, okay, that's actually pretty damn good sort of loop, right? The first one is memory. It needs to have memory. And the second one is personality. Then the things on top of that, once you have those 2 loops, are the ability, like long-term memory, the ability to go recall more information specific to it, or search, like Wikipedia and Google search, stuff like that, which we have in here in their notes. We have a search Wikipedia in here or something like that, I think. Which is a pretty good one. We should probably put that into Eliza. I know it's running somewhere. And then, let's see. So search is the big one. And then also topic analysis and classification. So can I break it up? And so, okay, you want to talk about... If Theta wants to talk about weed, it's actually going to identify that's what the person's talking about to them, and then pull Theta's like information about that example. And a lot of this is going into a YouTube video. But I think it's a good, whatever. It's a realistic example of what we're going to do right now in a minute with Theta anyway. So, cool. So the next thing that we need to do is, well, we could tackle memory or we could tackle personality. I think personality is probably a more straightforward one, and then we'll tackle memory. Okay, so we have the Fediverse bio. I mean, the Fediverse backstory. What else do we need? We also need, we need some like information.
Posted my Twitter archive. Let me see if I can.
Cool.
I don't know how useful the Twitter archive will be.
For this, without reformatting it, it's going to be hard, but we can use it in the future.
Yeah.
But in the future, but it's really useful for making a Feta Twitter If you want to make a Feta Twitter, now you've got a perfect data set to repeat that. The problem is that Feta Twitter is not Discord community. It's usually one-sided emitting ideas. So it's not like I could take IRC data and make it into Discord data, right? But you want different context for how to communicate in your different platforms, and that's a different. You might. Well, I'll show that maybe in a bit, but you might have examples of chat. And in fact, if you could just write me like 3 examples of things somebody might say that Feta might respond to, that's enough just to get started with a personality.
What about my blog posts? I put like 2 of them in there.
That's good, but I need a little bit of example of him speaking. How does he speak? I know about him now. How does he speak?
I don't know. I've always just used either my own voice or like an Animal Crossing JavaScript generator.
I mean, even just in text. What does he say in text?
Probably just heavily focused. It's just literally me.
So right.
What I
So then I just need you to go to Discord maybe and just grab like some communications of you and somebody else, and I just need that formatted as like back and forth conversation, and I need 6 lines of it, like whatever you can grab in 2 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna create another prompt variable, few shot. Few shots. Okay, so just so you know, what we're doing is all few shot generation. We're putting in data, which is called prompts. We're injecting it before the completion task, which is called a few shot. Well, it's usually a few shot is you show it an example and then let it repeat with its own example. And we'll do a little bit of that, but we're actually doing a mix of context injection, like giving it things about the world and about itself in real time, and few shot, which is giving you examples of it chatting with other people. So that's why it's called few shot. And then we have history. Now we need Feta bio. And then I also need Feta combo. Feta combo. And then I need... Yeah, that's fine. I'll just have those 3. Okay. So, that's not how you spell Feta. Did it both times. Wow. Okay, solid. So, I have Feta's bio right here. I'll just paste it in. Who is Feta? And we're going to say the following is a conversation on Discord between, I'm going to use some special injection markup that we're going to deal with later, between speaker and agent, aka Feta. Just in case for some reason it doesn't catch the name. Let's see. Feta. What is Feta's disposition in this Discord? Is Feta helpful? Is Feta
His main goal would be to help people learn more about the characters or ask questions about the universe.
The Fetaverse specifically?
Yeah, the Fetaverse.
Great. Another thing is, let's talk about... Oh, no. Save. Gotta save it. Okay. Feta's website is here. What's the Fetaverse website? Is it just emotional.art?
Yeah.
Okay. You can view Feta's website here. Emotional.art. What else? What else would you want to link to? Your Twitter?
Yeah, Twitter.
Isn't there a 0 in there? There's like a 0. I don't actually have...
First.
I block Twitter so that I can focus. I'm going to say Feta is the alter ego of the digital artist Emotional.
Yeah.
Emotional. Sorry, it's kind of funny. It's like working with like a marketing expert, right?
I'm like,
This
wait,
is
I gotta think
marketing.
about myself. This isn't
Yeah,
part of it.
yeah, it's pretty good, right? Okay, I think that's all we need. I just want to be able to show your brand here. Um, uh, and then I'll say, should I add anything like Feta is a member of the M3 of M3
Burrito guy.
and Burrito DAO. Um, M3. I mean, we gotta rep M3 obviously. Is it M3org.com? What is it? M3org. Dot. Yeah, it's just not. It's not loading because I have a slow ass computer. M3org's website is here. And Burrito DAO. Okay, that's relevant information, right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Following is a conversation between speaker and agent, aka Feta. Feta's main goal is to help people learn about the Fediverse and learn about the characters within. He will send them links to art, Burrito DAO, XYZ, or country.org, or his personal Twitter, but he otherwise does not share links or images on Discord yet. I don't know if maybe I'll put that in the other one because I actually don't want that to be there. But I do need this I need this to make sure that it's instruction that he doesn't actually go off the deep end with lots of URLs everywhere. We need this kind of stuff. Biasing the model against it. Okay. Cool. So now we actually need the conversation.
What a quick one, but that's probably so long. No,
I'm just gonna put that there. Theta combo. Love it. Speaker. And let's see. Now I see some pings. Let me pull this out of Discord, wherever it is. Boo, boo, boo.
trying to find where I actually have a conversation with someone.
I just
usually
need
just say I'm smoking weed to be.
this Feta smoke weed.
Yeah, he smokes a lot of it. It's his whole personality.
Alright, so what do you do here now? Well, I mean, smoking weed. How about that? How about you? Okay. I don't know. Okay, that's one conversation.
I sent one. Yeah, let me add the speaker and agent.
Yeah. I mean, it's where do I find that?
Check the voice chat. It's under that huge. Let me delete the huge thing.
Yeah, tight. Perfect. Beautiful. Yeah. Agent. And I'm just gonna go in agent, speaker, agent. Cool. Yeah, sounds tight. Okay, we'll do two examples right now. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna have conversation, which we'll inject later in a second. Conversation is gonna be, well, actually we'll have to come back to that. Make a note for that, um, uh, because that's where we'll inject our conversation. And then speaker, and we need this to be input, and then we'll make this agent. So that's our prompt setup, right? What do? We've got history right here, some good stuff. Feta bio, just basic information. I could shove all this together, but we could also determine like whether we need it or not dynamically. Like if you said, "Hey, can you tell me about Feta?" Okay, cool. Pull both of these. I don't know. Can you tell me the history of
There's
Fediverse? Pull this one.
there's the character sheet. Doesn't have all the characters, but it has like 6 or 7 in it.
Let's just do
On the
one
left-hand
for
side.
now. Let's do Business Frog, because Business Frog would love this idea. He's the only one who's not here. Damn it!
There was a point that I gave on writing bios at some point.
Oh man, I wish I had Business Frog.
Wait, hold on. There's one. There might be
I mean, Stone
on the
Rabbit's pretty
actual
good.
web. Oh yeah, here I have business cards right here.
All right, yeah, I need Business Frog's bio. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna detect Business Frog, and we're gonna do a really hacky version of it, but it'll be good. It'll be fine. Because like for basic information, tell me about Business Frog. Like how good do you need Business Frog detection to be? You know.
Business Frog's main goal is he's like marketing and like networking and that annoying stuff that artists have to deal with
Yeah, exactly.
essentially.
Yeah. We don't love him, but we need him. All right, so we're gonna call this BizFrog, and we're gonna if someone says, "Hey, tell me about Frog," we'll just what's cool is that it doesn't like switch to Frog. It just adds the information about the frog to the next part of the conversation, so we can naturally like know about the frog while not seeming like old school bots that like, like decision treed their response out. You know what I mean? It's natural. All right, cool. So now we need some magic. We got these things. Now I don't have nodes for the rest. I'm gonna have to make some custom nodes, and this is kind of one of the other really powerful elements of what we're doing right now. Let me just consult my notes here. So I don't really. Okay. I have to take all of these and connect them all together, get the input, replace the variables in here, like input, the agent name and speaker name, and then get the completion. And then I have like a bot that at least for every time I send it something, it will have a good response, but it won't have any memory yet. But it's getting there, right? Okay. So I'm going to make a code node, because I don't have a node to do this other part. You could do a string replace node. We have some like string processing stuff, but it's not really, it's just like a lot of clicky draggy stuff. It's not very clean. So I'm just going to use a basic code node. Where do I find that? Logic code. What's cool with the code node is that I can just create input and outputs arbitrarily and then work on JavaScript in here. And I love JavaScript, so this is going to help me a lot. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to type in input. Let's see, I'll type in agent first. Speaker. Because I need the agent and speaker. I also need the input, right? And then I need some context. What context do I need? I need history, bio, I need my, we'll just call it frog. Well, I don't know. I got the other one I need, which is this feta convo. What do we call this? Conversation prompt. And here we'll just call it prompt. That's the input. And then I also need frog. That's our special. And maybe weed. We'll just do weed because weed is good. And so this we're going to call replace variable, or inject and replace. Inject variables and replace. I could do injection of variables and replacing separately. I feel like that would be better, right? agent speaker input history bio prompt. Maybe that's what we want. I'll clone it. Okay, so we have input and prompt. This will do the injection. And that will take just a single output of output. That'll replace the agent speaker client, and we'll do that first. Then this one, delete input. Do we need input? No, I don't think so. Bio. Frog. Weed. I do think we actually do want input, because we're going to need to determine if we show frog or weed here too, later. And I'll make an output there. Okay, so we have 2 pieces here. The first piece we'll do will be the inject variables and replace piece. We want to, no, we're going to call this inject context. And we'll call this replace variable. Those are much more logical names. Okay, inject context is going to add the history, bio, and information that you might be talking about keyword matched this time. This is a simple way to do topics. There's a much more complex way to do it, but this is the simple, fast way. So we'll get the output, and since it's the input, now we have it here. And we can expose that. Let's see. I can, in the worker here, I'm going to just called object destructure. So the first, you can see inputs, right, is the first input. And I'm just going to destructure that input. And I'm going to say history, bio, frog, weed, input. Those are my inputs. Because then those match here, right? Those are my input sockets. And I actually want to get that data in this code node so I can do some magic to it. Okay, cool. And what's cool is with these code nodes, you can share them, right? I can actually export a node or like paste the code, and you could run it yourself. You don't have to like know how to code. And eventually, what I want to do is be able to save this node and like name it and save it in a library. That way, I can like share my more complex things I'm doing inside of these custom nodes. But for now, I'll run you through the JavaScript a little bit. So for this node, we're going to add the history, obviously, the bio, the prompt, which is no, we actually don't need a prompt for this one. That's for the next one. The bizfrog data, and then and we're gonna say Theta loves weed. His favorite kind of weed is indica. Is it really?
Yeah.
One time.
He also does a lot of acid.
He also does a lot of acid. One time he did too much and woke up in World of Warcraft. He doesn't remember how he got back.
Damn, that's so
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Or if he got back. Okay, and we'll call that one weed. And because this is a highly unstable and alpha program, we will export this just in case we have to lose all of our data. And then we'll just make sure we inject that as well. And we've got his bio. Cool, that's all the things. We'll just wire that up. Wire it up. What do we want to do in here? Okay, well, we want to combine history and bio if the word frog or weed is mentioned. Add them. Easy enough. Nothing too challenging. Okay. And then we will add that to the trigger. And we will add this, let's see. Sorry, we don't need to do that yet. We'll just focus on this one still. We got all that stuff. All these things are good. I think we can just go from here, right? Const output equals I don't know, history, plus, I actually like to do it with backticks. It's a little easier just to format with these complex prompts. History. Feels so weird coding. I usually just describe the code. Now, here we have, well, okay, let's actually make this a variable. We have history and bio. There we go, right? Now we want to add, in fact, we probably need this to be on this line so that we don't get a weird new line return. There we go. Excuse me. Now, if input dot includes, no, two lowercase dot includes weed. What are some other good names for? We're just gonna do this. I'm not gonna do a map, but it would be, you know, what else? Marijuana. Nobody says. Everyone just says weed now. There's like no other words for it.
I'm running a prompt here. Got you, Liz. It's in chat.
How about nugs?
Weed, pot, cannabis, herb, grass, bud, ganja, Mary Jane. Goes on and on.
Yeah, but I don't think we talk about any of those anymore except for weed. Anyway, well, he likes weed.
Dank.
I like dank. Oh yeah, we'll do dank too, just in case. Just like it'll be injected in there, because you know, in case you're talking about dank, he'll know.
Bud is a good one.
Yeah. But it's a pretty common word. So, remember, this is like old school chatbot tricks, right? This is not AI. This is just like if you detect it, throw it in there. We could be greedy with this because like it's not actually going to poison the prompt. It's just like adds more information about what he likes about weed. It's not a big deal, but it might also be irrelevant. So if it includes weed or nugs or dank, output plus equals back ticket. Weed. And then likewise, we'll do the same thing. Just copy and paste it with frog. What happened?
Oh, what the?
What?
Chrome crashed.
Whoa.
Wild.
Congrats. That was cool.
That was alright, but I really hope it didn't lose ever. No, I mentioned it.
Oh, you lost that. What you?
That's why you always save. Let's see, where did we go? I'll take it. I'll fucking
That's
take
not
it.
bad. That is good.
I
Well
will.
saved.
Yes. Thank God. Okay. And then we'll do the same thing for the frog, right? If lowercase includes frog, and this one's a little easier, we kind of just need frog. If you say frog, add it to the output. That looks I missed my IntelliSense. I missed my codex. Okay, and then we'll call this one frog. And then we're just going to return the output. And that's it. That's the whole node, right? Hey, slice those things together and return the output. Okay. Well, does that work? I mean, what does this actually return us now? What it should return is like the sickest prompt ever, obviously. We can tell. We don't have the variable replacement yet, so we're not going to do the GPT. We're going to plug this node that we just made into the echo so that we can see what the output is, just to understand what we did, because it's probably a little confusing. So to recap, well, I have input, my actual input node, which receives from playtest, my trigger in, which receives from playtest, breaks out into a D structure, which I just get the output from for now, but I'll get the speaker and agent stuff in a second. That goes into this context injector, which is looking for the words frog and weed or nugs or dank. And then it's going to inject those dynamically with a really hacky approach that we could do with topics and classification and like other loops later. But just for a simple, like, getting a bot running today, This does the job well, especially since like 90% of people are just going to use weed, right? Or just frog is the only word for business frog. So if you're doing like a knowledge base about specific topics and you need to inject information about the specific topics, this is a perfectly viable way to shortcut complex, expensive machine learning to do the same thing. So then we have the bio, the history of feta, some information about business frog, not much, and then some information about weed. That's all going into this context injector, which is getting stuck down here. We want to make sure that we did our backticks right so that our spaces are kind of set up right. And then that's going to go through our echo, and that's going to go into our output. So we'll save the spell, and then we can say test. Whoa, big batch of text. But look what it gave us. It gave us, I said text, and it gave us back a whole crap ton of information with no formatting. And that's kind of all we wanted for that part. Now we got to do the final. Oh, we do actually want to add the prompt. Because we do want to add the prompt to the bottom of this, even though we're going to do that prompt replacement stuff in a second. So I'll just add that here. And I'm just going to add prompt to that inject that we just made. This code node called inject context. Now it has a prompt variable, so I'll just expose that in the destructure. And then I'm going to add input, output plus equals, I think that I can just add prompt because this backtick here guarantees that it's on the next line. So that looks good to me. I think that's all I need to do. Added the prompt. We'll test it again. Undefined. Oh, well, it would help if I plugged it in, wouldn't it? Save that. Now I have a prompt. Great, and it's got some information there. I'll press test. Bada boom, boom. And you can see it down here. It's got that conversational prompt stuff we added, and then it's got that agent there, that speaker, input agent. We're on our way. We've got everything we need. We just need to do this next thing, which is the replace variables for speaker and agent. And we've got a basic agent. So replace variables. It takes input. It actually doesn't take a prompt because we already put the prompt here, so it's all together. So we'll just run this here. And we're going to destructure the inputs because we only have one input, which is input. And we only have one output, which is output. Now, we need to make sure that we're running the latest version of Node.js so that we can use some of the latest JavaScript features, including replace all. Otherwise, you would need to write this in as a string function. So what are we doing? We're going to replace agent, replace all agent, speaker, and input. And then we'll have to replace conversation later. And how do we do that? Const output equals input dot replace all speaker. Oh, right. This is actually going to need to take some variables, isn't it? What does it need to take? Well, we should probably add an input for speaker. So we're going to need that. And we're going to need one for agent. I think that's all. Input dot replace all speaker. And let's destructure those. Speaker, agent. Speaker, input, replace all, speaker. Maybe I could do something fancy. What a weird tab. Dot replace all agent. and replace all input, which is what we're actually receiving from the user. And that's all we need to do there. We just need to do those replaces. I think this should be a node. This would be a great node to have, but now it is that. Now we need to populate that with agent and speaker. As well, right? And let's plug this into the echo. And let's just see what our prompt is. Let's just make sure we did it right and we didn't screw up. Because every time I do this, I do. Test. Oh, clearly we screwed up. What was our screw up? Let me put this here. Error input is not defined. Oh, right. Well, that I guess makes sense, actually. What I want here... I did this kind of wrong. Right, my bad. This prompt that I got from my inject, I'm going to actually put that... That's actually a prompt, right? And the input should be the input that I get from the user. So I'm just going to drag that node there from... That's the output of my destructure node. Right, that's the actual text I get to the input of my replace variables node. That's the actual input I get. And the input there is going to be, it's actually going to be prompt dot replace all speaker agent input. This console is very helpful for figuring that out. Let's try that again. Prompt dot replace all is not, well, yeah, I gotta add it to my destructure properties. And there we go. Now I have an injected thing. Now, inside of the preview window, it defaults to speaker and agent, capital S, capital A. So in the preview window, not in your entity, but here, it's speaker and agent. And one cool thing is if you use the speaker agent syntax everywhere and they're injected like that, you can create flexible agents, right? Because they don't... you could make like a form that's like put your bio here, and then you would put Feta's bio, put your skills here, put your special interests here, and then the rest of the graph could be totally dynamic. It doesn't know anything specifically about Feta. It's all just data flows and injections and stuff. So that's how that kind of works. Cool. Now the last thing we need, right, is the actual response from OpenAI. Now we have everything. We've got speaker, agent, the whole model works. And let me just double check. How does it end? Agent. So it's what you see. It's expecting agent to respond. Another thing I did was up here. I said that agent, aka Feta, right? It sort of knows that agent and Feta are related to each other. At this point, I can actually delete my echo node because I have so much flow going on here that anything I send out, since there's work here, will just go directly to the output. I don't need the echo. But I'm just going to replace it here with this. You only need an echo if you have no other nodes that are processing text. I'll send the output to the text here. You can also have variable settings, so you can have like GPT-3 to determine like another loop that determines if it should be creative or not. Lots of different kinds of things. And then that will go to the output. So with a little bit of luck, hey Feta, what's up, my guy? Just smoking some weed and kicking it. You? Right? There you go. So now we got one problem. Everything works beautifully. This is the first time I've ever done this ever on an agent. I didn't have horrible, horrible problems that took me hours to debug. So I'm very happy about that. But we still, if I message him again, he's not going to know that I said this. He has no memory. He didn't store it anywhere. It didn't go anywhere. Hey, what's up, my guy? Just chilling and smoking some good green. He could have said, like, dude, you just asked me that. Right? That would be the appropriate response. Dude, stop bothering me.
Short-term memory.
Yeah, he's like, dude, he's really high. He has no short-term memory. He's got zero. All right, so how do we add short-term memory? So one of my thinkings about AI is that obviously we model these things off of humans. The models are very simple, right? Like they're modeled off of humans, but they're relatively simplistic compared to us. But there's a lot of really good, helpful abstractions that I think relate and like have definitely helped me to kind of see the world a little differently. One of the obviously transformers and all of this stuff and prompting and like the few shot stuff versus search versus like long term memory versus fine tuning. All I can see analogs in everything. But one of the really interesting things that I've been thinking of is event memory. Like when I think of memory, how my memory works, and this is probably not how everyone's memory works, but my memory is very tied to like specific intense events or like moments that happened in time. And I think that actually like I don't know, I don't have any knowledge. Like my sense is at least storing events is a great abstraction for us to then work with generally with AI. And it's kind of like, if you were to like, you can imagine a lot of scenarios where the event abstraction makes sense. For example, I might recall that you just changed the topic, and you changing the topic is an event, and I can then replay that, determine, and understand, or use that as the context to then respond to the next thing. Or I might store an event of like how I feel about you because you said this thing. Man, you said that weird thing about me. Like I don't feel good about that guy anymore. Or like, man, you really said this really nice thing about me. And I could actually then go and like my amalgamation of you is almost like a collection of events, right? More than anything, things we've said to each other and the way I felt about you when you said something or did something or like whatever. So we have this event abstraction inside of Thoth. And we use this a lot for storing information to make this thing stateful. The way we add state, this isn't just one graph, but a loop, a cognitive loop that processes data over and over, builds on itself, learns from itself, learns from you, is through a combination of events and search. Events are short-term memory, as it is. They can be recalled from the database. You get the last 10 of a conversation, the last 20. And I'll create an event node. I'm going to have a store event node. I need one of those. I also need a recall event node. Event recall. But I also then, I can take those events and process them into Weaviate for searchable long-term memory. So I think long-term, I actually need to access a memory. I need to go find it. Oh, what was that? I remember I saw that thing last week, and where was it, right? And then I grab it, like, yes, oh yeah, I was on that website. Awesome. Unlock. It's almost like lightning strikes, and I remember where it was, and I grab it. And it reminds me a lot of search, how search works. And also, when you're talking to me, and I'm taking things you've said, and I'm relating them to things that I know or I've thought about, I also think that's a very common search problem. So that's the other thing that we can get into is vector search and how and search generally, but that's probably beyond the scope of what we can do today. But there is a vector search node. There's a bunch of stuff in here to do that as well. But you'll need to get into Weaviate in order to really make use of that. And so Weaviate is a beautiful, flexible, open source vector search engine. We run this in Docker in the background, and you can upload anything. You can make your own wikis with this. This powers the Webiverse wiki and a bunch of other stuff. And so that's how we're doing long-term memory. But for short-term memory, we're just doing event recall. And so what we do is say, hey, give me the last 10 messages from between me and this person. Or between me and this person in this channel, and also include everybody else in this channel. And so we can mix, or give me all the messages from people in this channel, and then give me the last conversation, and then give me examples of conversations, and mix those together. Okay. The order that you set all that stuff in the prompts is obviously important, but we'll get to that in a second as well. So the first thing we want to do is we have this whole conversation. Let's store the event. We'll just work on this event storage. We store it. We got the output, and we want that to trigger our event storage. We actually want to do everything, and then we'll do the memory. That way, this isn't blocking the response. It's still fast. And the events that we want to store. Well, the primary event. This is not well documented. I'm sorry. We'll name this. We'll name this conversation. And the event type is lowercase conversation. It could be anything you want. It's just a key value store. You can have millions of different kinds of events. It can store anything. It can store just bunches of JSON. You can build all kinds of complex state. But for now, we're just going to do this conversation. It can store up to 2 events. This is sort of hard coded. So if you're storing one event, it's generic event storage. Recall. 2 events is, you're trying to store a conversation. You're trying to store a speaker and agent thing. This should be more flexible and better documented. But just so you know, if you're having a conversation and you're trying to do conversational event stuff, the primary event is going to be the output of the out here from the the primary event is the input, and then the secondary event is going to be the agent's response. So the way that we do that is we will grab the output, put it into the primary event. So this is how we're doing a conversation. You know, the event could be anything, and you'll almost always ignore the secondary event except for conversation. The conversation is the one thing you really need a secondary event option for. We also need to, we want some keys. We don't want this to happen and get confused with every kind of event. So we're just going to straight up key, channel to channel, agent to agent, speaker to speaker, and client to client. Now, you might want events where I want to record everything in the channel regardless of who said it. So I have the nearest, not just my conversation, but every conversation. And there's a little bit of mixing already going with the conversation in the channel. But this way, it kind of guarantees that you get the latest right now, you're just getting, if I'm talking to Feta, it's just me and Feta mostly. I think it might also bleed the channel because the way it's set up. But you might also have another event that's don't worry about the keys for speaker and agent at all. Just get everybody who's talking about anything in any of the channels in this server. And I might want that, for some other reason. To log it, to comment on it, to have some sort of global awareness of what's happening in the chat, all that kind of stuff. So we store the event, and this event storage should be done. I think I did it. And we can validate this pretty easily. So let's just, let me make another window really quick. What I want to do in this window is just pull up the event manager. I need to just pull this up. It has one problem is it doesn't update when you update, so I have to refresh it. So I'm just going to kind of shove it there for a second. And I'll shove this here for a second. So now when I say, hey Theta, what's up my guy? I'm going to refresh this. Oh, dang it. Refresh every time. Speaker. I'm not seeing it. So let's make sure that it's happening. Well, it's not happening. It's getting undefined. Oh, and it's also not storing the other, the response.
Seeing the defined undefined in the one you sent me.
That might be okay. But it's not storing the other conversation here. And then let me just make sure that this might be another thing where I have to actually assign a trigger out so that it continues its execution after returning. It might be something like that. Let me just make sure. Just chilling and exploring the Fediverse and hanging out with Business Frog. It's almost good. It's almost good. Oh. I love you, Eliza, but where... Yeah, there you go. Hey, what's up, my guy? There it is. Okay, so it did it. It actually worked, right? And you see it's in test channel, it's conversation type, and you can see it's actually between agent and speaker, and the client is playtest, because that's where we are. Okay, cool, great. And that also illuminates that I could just type in playtest here and filter by all my playtesting, right? And that's a great way to debug and figure out, did I store his memory at all? Did it work? Okay. Now the second part, we need to recall that in the conversation so that he remembers it before he responds again. So in the event recall, well, here you see that the only thing is I stored conversation. And so when I recall, I also need this, I'll name it conversation. This could be anything, but it's important that the type is also conversation. That's how it finds it. Target count, 20. That's going to be pairs. I think that's pairs. But basically, that's lines of conversation. I think it's either pairs or individual, but I'll have to check the code. But it's, how many conversation lines back do we go of memory to recall? And there's also time difference. And if you don't put anything here, it defaults to -1. And if you accidentally put something here, you can put -1. And then the max count. Target count is and max count. I'm really not sure why we have those two. But I generally just set them both to the same. I didn't add target count, but I did set max count, usually about 10 or 20. Great. Now we need to let's just inject these first. We'll hook up agent to agent, speaker to speaker, client to client, channel to channel, and this conversation, we probably need this to come first. So we'll actually we'll move the trigger to trigger the conversation recall node. I'm just going to do a little bit of organizing here, because I'd like it to just be very clear that it's all in a line. This is the order of execution, right? I try and organize them like these are all stacking at the same order of execution, and this is the order that they occur in. I hope that makes sense. Almost done. So the trigger from our destructure hits this trigger into our event recall, which recalls up to 20 lines of conversation. That then triggers our context injection. Now we need our context injection. It actually doesn't need let's see. We need to replace variables is where we need it. So we're going to add conversation to our replace variables node, right? Because we want to replace the conversation variable with the conversation that we recall. And I will hide that for now. Let's check this over. So we added the conversation. We're going to add conversation, destructure in the destructure properties. We're going to add a replace all and this is also, we'll just keep it simple. Okay. We replace all conversation with the conversation that's injected. And then we need to make sure that the event recall here, I'm sorry that these wires are kind of nuts. You can add pins, but it's a little finicky. You can do stuff like that. A little finicky. Let's kind of just put this up here for now. Because we're going to need this event output to go into our conversation input, right? That event recall now gets ejected here. And now we got one more thing we have to do. In our conversation prompt, right, which has all the injection points, we need to make sure that we put conversation right here. That is going to then get replaced. Save it. And now I like to do a test of conversation stuff, and I actually have an event test spell that we can run just to test it, but I'm fairly confident that this is going to work. So we're just going to run it. And he already recalled from the last time, so I'll just say not much. Wait, who are you hanging with? Because with Business Frog, he's a great guy. Oh wow. Tell me more about Business Frog. He's an entrepreneurial spirit who loves to help out those in need. This frog seems to budge in and begin demanding that Feta gets better at marketing and sharing his experiences. That's not. Yeah. He's also a strong advocate for diversity.
What a cool guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he's a little too positive about Business Frog. I'm a little worried about it. I think we need to. I think we need a little bit more you know, oomph on the words business frog. So I'm just gonna put them in there just so he understands.
He's a
Um,
strong businessman with a New York accent.
um, wow, sounds like a really reliable business partner for you. Um, okay, so we have a bot. I think he like remembers stuff. He doesn't throw any errors. We can actually like obviously debug him too. We can go into our the following passages are backstory. Um, somewhere in here. Let's go to the bottom because we shoved in all. Wow, there's a lot of context, right? You can see business frog. It's business frog. Business frog. Um, more business frog. Yeah, but where is? Did it inject business frog? Oh, probably not. But it would if I actually said, tell me more about the frog. It's kind of poisoned with being too nice about him, but so let's say I
He already
don't.
lives
I
in
disagree. I disagree with his view on Business Frog. I think Business Frog is an angry capitalist, and he deserves to be taken out back. So I'm gonna remove this view of Feta of Business Frog from Feta. I'm gonna prune his memory like that movie. I don't know.
Jesus.
What is
Oh
that? What is
no.
that movie? That's a good one. Oh, Mark Ruffalo's in it. Eternal Sunshine. Okay, we're gonna Eternal Sunshine some Feta because this is like a very common task you need to do. So the client was preview. Yeah, we were. Was it? Playtest. Right, playtest. And we'll just go to the end. Business Frog is a very caring. No, that's garbage. That's absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. Okay. Back here. Doing well. Tell me where the frog. This is gonna be annoying that I have to delete all these one by one, but we should probably fix that so it stays. Do I need any more? Well, you get the point. I think I demonstrated the point. You can go in here and delete individual things you disagree with or you don't want to go into the memory bank or you want to reset, you want to retry something from the same point with the same context. Okay.
Then
So-
it's just starting from baseline essentially.
Yeah. Tell me more about the frog. And you can see maybe in here somewhere, I think he injected the frog. Yeah, you can see Business Frog is inspired by Emotional's real friend, Crypto Joe. Bam. Oh, I just totally... Oh, Lars didn't see that. Well, don't know what you're talking about. Okay. So you should be aware that anything that's in the prompt will eventually come out in the conversation also. So if anything
Good.
you really want to
Good.
hide... so cool. That's
No,
all
that's
good.
like the inside joke there.
Yeah, good, great. I know, I figure you're probably fine with that. So now we've got our whole bot going. We can talk to Business Frog. How do we get Business Frog on Discord, right? That is the other big question. How do we get Business Frog on Discord? Well, I think at this point, there's a 50-50 chance that I try and I fail. So we're going to try. And if we fail, that will just be it. So the first thing I got to do is I
Yeah.
got to go to the Discord developer portal. Well, let's just make an agent from scratch. And then we'll figure out the issues with the fact that I need an API key and all that. We're going to create a new one, and we're going to enable it. And I wish we should make some like nice UI collapsible, but for now, it looks like this. Deal with it. I'm a coder.
Do you need my OpenAI key?
Yeah, sure.
Or you go-
I mean, you should run this on. Yeah, I mean, I'll run it for you for now. I actually have an iMac. We'll put it on there. It'll run forever.
You can definitely run it on my own computer too while I do other shit.
Cool. So I'm gonna enable. I'm not gonna enable voice for now. It's a whole can of worms. We're just not ready for that yet. But we do have voice, especially in Discord. It's pretty sick. So we'll turn Discord on. We need an OpenAI key for the entity. We need a Discord API key for Discord, and I have one. But if you want to make a one for your, you should make some for your characters. Basically, if you're gonna do this.
I had a good question. With the Discord, like it requires SSL. If you're running this locally, how do you get around that?
It runs SSL locally.
Oh, it does? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And when you run
You
it
get
dev
an
mode, it check the .env because there is an use underscore SSL environment variable that will set it to HTTP or HTTPS.
Ah, good to know. Okay.
Yeah, there's one on the client, one on the server, but you should make sure everything's going to HTTPS. But it should just work. Also in Node.js, like it can handle TLS and all that stuff, and it doesn't have CORS errors on or any of that stuff. So it's just fine. You put your Discord API in. I'm not really sure what the starting words is. I'm pretty sure this is like another kind of wake word where if you're like, hey, hi, sup, hello. I didn't write that part, and I just don't remember what it does. So you just write like that, and it seems to work pretty well. Then the other thing, let's just do like that. Bot name regex. So your character has a name, but then your bot also has a name, like your handle. So the bot regex is basically what it's going to search for to know that somebody's talking to it, and that's going to be feta. You're going to make a bot named feta, then that's probably the feta, right? And also the bot's probably also going to be like feta number or something, blah, blah, blah. But Discord bot named feta is absolutely fine. Empty responses, I just put in IDK. That's a universal code for me that it fucked up or didn't have anything to say. It could also just be nothing, and then it just doesn't respond. But it's better if it says IDK, because then it lets me get some feedback.
Yeah, I like the IDK. It's funny.
I'm gonna export the spell. Now we got the nice feta, and we'll make sure that it's using the feta spell handler. This is the most important one. This interval and event, don't worry about these. These aren't gonna do anything for you, unless you turn on the loop and all that stuff. We're not gonna turn on the loop. It's a whole other thing. So we'll just worry about this spell handler for incoming messages, right? That's what's important for us. Now all I need is an OpenAI key.
I sent that to you. Where do you get the Discord API key?
Okay, so the Discord API key, you're going to have to go to Discord developer portal, and you're going to have to sign up for this, and it just takes a second. It doesn't require anything special. Anybody can be a Discord developer. You're going to have to go to the portal. You're going to see the docs here, and you're going to have to go down and make a new application. You can go to resources, whatever. I usually go to applications, right? This is my list of applications. I've got some different applications. Let's just do, I've got Philip. Philip's cool. Philip is now feta. Alright, Philip, you're feta. So let's go find feta. Fetaverse. There's actually a DJ named Feta. You're gonna have to fight him.
I know. I need to give
Let's
his
kill that guy.
Instagram and everything.
Yeah, let's go like sick the army of robots on him until he quits the internet. I'm just kidding. Let's just take this cute little guy right here. This cute little bean. I can deal with that. Save image, desktop, boom. Okay. We're gonna do this real quick, right? Make a nice little image. Cool. Feta. Smoking in the Fetaverse. Oh yeah. Okay. So you need a couple of things here. The main thing you need is this application ID. What you're gonna do, well, there's two parts. I'll just show you this, and then we'll go back to the application, because you're gonna need to invite this bot to your place. And I always forget how to do that, so I just type in Discord.js invite bot, Discord.js.guide, adding bot to servers.html, whatever. This place, and they have this link right here, and I'm gonna just copy that right there. Yeah, that.
I just sent you a Discord API.
Awesome. I will post that in a second. I'm gonna get this application ID right here. Oh, you actually made one.
Yeah.
Is that a public key? That's not what I need though. I'm gonna
Sent you
need.
the application.
I do need the application ID, but then I'm also gonna need the client secret. You see on my screen OAuth 2 client secret?
Yeah.
This is the one that we're actually gonna paste in. But I'll go back to that in a second. Okay. General information, application ID. This one. I just took this and I pasted it up here in my URL bar. I'm going to replace its example client ID 1234567 with that one. Now I have this, right? And I'll just paste this in M3, and that way people can, well, don't invite Fediverse to your own server yet, guys. It'll be total madness. Because we have to fix, once we fix that Discord bug, we can totally have Feta everywhere. But right now the problem is that it's doing that cross talking, and so if two people are talking to it, it's going to be a really bad experience for both of them. But let's get that fixed, and then we can invite the bot to every single place, right? So I just take that link and paste it here, and I can invite it to a server, whatever, all my servers. Cool. So that's how I invite Feta, and that's how I actually communicate with them. Going back to here, I'm going to make this really small so that when I paste the API keys, they are not visible. Okay, so first things first, OpenAI key. Second thing second, there is definitely a space at the end of that key, and that is why that's not working. Second thing second, Discord API key. Okay. That should all be good to go. We've got our keys in. Oh, and you did give me a that client ID for your Feta. No, that wasn't it. You need to send me the client ID. Oh, you actually need to enable OAuth for your bot. So I'm just going to do this on my Feta for now because I have control of it. But then we'll get that going next. So I'll just put this in M3 Eliza because that's easy. Boom. Now M3 Feta is invited to that channel. Now I just need to go to OAuth 2 and 1 second. Oh, dang it. I need my 2FA. 1 sec. I got a 2FA in my Discord so that I can change my secret. Okay, copy it and go back here and ciao, update it. Now Feta's running ostensibly in a channel, maybe. How do we know? Well, let's go look at our console. I'll show you 2 different places where you can find that information that are very helpful. I need to find. There's my running business. Now you can see it called update entities. It called this update. Manager was destroyed. Start a Discord client for agent. Oh, probably because the token failed. So let's just restart Thoth. We kind of have to. Okay, so while that's starting up, I'm going to also show you, I have Tables Plus. This is like just a GUI tool for people who, for SQL. I also use MySQL too, but this is kind of nice for just quickly popping open, seeing what's up with the structure. Inside here, I have all the events. So this is actually all of my event data of people communicating with the agent. People have already put in 2,100 messages. So that's pretty significant. That's probably quite a lot of money. I should think about that. Then also we have our spells. These are the actual Feta spell. Then the entities. And these are our running entities. We have some of these things, personality, that's just garbage. But the vast majority of these, like you can see, Feta has the API keys, has all the information here. Right, this is the entity information. And basically the runner, the entity runner, that's running invisibly in the background when you start the server, is listening for changes on this dirty signal. and then it's going to claim them once it recalls them. So the invalid token provided. That's real suck. Invalid token provided. So I can just fix that because the Discord token was bad. I'm just going to fix that in my database real quick, silently over in the background so you guys can't see it. Token was generated. And let's just make sure his client ID was right. Invalid token. Well, maybe it's just tied to that URL. I don't know. Something weird. It should start up from this point though. So if we just, I mean, it's telling me invalid token, so we'll take it at face value. I lost my window.
Does it need to be set as a bot? Is there like an explicit setting?
I think it already is though. I actually pulled this from my developer settings. So it should just work magically. I think that what's happening is that it's fucking kidding me. No.
That's kind of short for an API key.
Yeah, you're right.
Mine's really long.
OAuth2.
That's the one where it resets, it brings up the modal.
No, you're right. It's the wrong token. You're totally right. Give me a sec. That's the wrong token. I'll pull that up. I need to do my 2FA.
I'm stuck on this step right now. Like, I've got it. It totally should be working, but...
Boom. Okay. Big token. It sees the update. I'm just gonna restart it so that, because it probably just crashed the last one. Oh, it does the build. And let's check our Discord channels, because it's probably going to start up in a second.
What channel are you in?
Good question. I was going to invite to M3 Eliza. Waiting for a character to wake up. Still named Philip, unfortunately.
Philip.
But, hey Fedo, what's up? Whoa, collapse. Invalid form body. It's just too long. Okay, solid. Well, that's fixable. Okay, so our bio's too long, unfortunately.
Oh, interesting.
But it's not that. It's acceptable. We can. Well.
Does it just crash because it's so long?
Yeah. Hell yeah, it does. I mean, it doesn't crash. Well, it throws an error. We should handle the crash, right? It shouldn't. But right now it throws an error. It's not a bad. It's like it's a. It's not like a bad crash, you know. It's just like it is what it is. Open the spell for Feta. We're just gonna have to kind of compress this bio a little bit. Feta bio. We could also like, I mean, not the bio, the history. And the other thing we could do is we could like randomly pull some of the history for every different conversation. So it's like he's always kind of got some of the story, you know, or we could search and see if it's relevant and choose not to include it. There's a lot we can do there. But I think that for now we're just gonna have to, you know, like, I think we're gonna delete some of this.
Oh yeah, it looks like my message to my bot went through.
It worked?
Just gave me. Well, it crashed. App crashed. But
Ah.
at least it came through, didn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know why it crashed. What was your indicator?
For me?
Yeah, you said it was like too long of a
Yeah,
prompt or
yeah.
something? What was it?
OpenAI told me it was too long. It said
Oh,
it
it
has to be
wasn't
less.
anything in the console.
No. It was in the console, but that was what they said.
Hmm.
We need to. You're gonna have to just make me a shorter version of the story.
Oh, here, I actually have a shorter version.
Great.
My bad.
No worries. It's awesome.
Yeah. If you go here in the voice channel to the timeline and history tab, it's the shortened version. I used AI to actually shorten all of it.
Yeah, give me a sec.
Timeline
Introduction.
and history.
Timeline.
Timeline. I guess yeah. It should be like a bio or it should be like timeline.
We can probably fit both now that that's dramatically less data.
Yeah. Yeah, much more.
Now we can put some more information though. So let's go get the introduction. Right, because I think that should be totally fine. That's
should be
still
fine.
way less. Save. Great. And
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I mean, he's still trained on the entire world, so it's gonna be that kind of deal. Oh yeah, I want to make sure that I wipe that last event because that I just could be a problem. Sorry, I had a
That make it
completion error.
skew nonsense later down the line.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh my god, what the hell? Delete the completion error. Whoops. Delete the completion error. What a weird bug. This page really could use some love. This is what happens when you outsource talent. Okay. Good. And then I'm just gonna delete that horrible message from. Sorry, I had a completion error. And then Hey Feta, what's up? Oh. I think he'll work. But he might have the same error because I didn't restart him. And I didn't edit his. I don't think he knows that I need to change graph. So actually I can force him to restart and reload the graph by just turning Discord off. Turning him off. And he's going to leave the chat. Leave the channel. Cool, get the fuck out. And then I'll go and... I want to enable and I'll turn Discord back on. And we'll just kind of refresh them. I don't know, there should be like a refresh button really. That just sets the dirty flag, but there isn't yet. From there, Why is he not awake? Is he rerunning? I don't know. I'm gonna rerun this just in case.
Yeah, I'm finding after a crash, you have to kill it and restart.
The biggest things that we could fix would be DevX around HMR, making sure the website, the front end reloads when you save stuff or edit things,
Mm-hmm.
and crash handling so that it logs the crash well, and even like makes a note of it in the front end or something, but it doesn't crash the actual system because none of it's real crashes, right? Like none of it's logical crashes. It's all like failed to get a response. It just
And I do notice after the rebuild, the bot goes green.
I'm waiting for my own bots to wake up.
Yeah, I'm waiting for mine right now. Okay, look. So like Thoth just restarted.
You go.
And Caramon's green. Yeah, I named mine Caramon, so that's green.
Motherfuck.
And what's interesting is I see that it's typing.
Invalid form body. Must be 4,000 or fewer in length.
Where do you see that coming from? In the log?
In the Node.js.
Are you just repeating all of Eliza's dialogue?
Oh. I wonder.
My error says connection refused. Is that anything you're doing?
No, I think that it's still it's I see what it is. It's for some reason pulling in all of the conversational data out of the bot itself. I think that we're having a weird interaction between the two Discord handlers. I've had more than one running, so I don't think that's the issue, but I think that I'm going to download the CSV and wipe the memory. Okay, my guess is what we need to do here is download CSV so I have all the saved text conversations that were pretty valuable, and we can use those later for analysis, fine-tuning, whatever. And then we'll wipe it, and it's probably just that it's crosstalk or some sort of other issue in the data being recalled that's overloading how much it's trying to store, and it's freaking out. So I want to save that data really quick. Maybe I already did. Did I download that? Yeah, I did. I downloaded the events. So from there I can just go to events, and I can delete, just blow away all the events. There's probably a way to mass delete, but I don't know what it is. A lot easier with pure SQL.
Bobby Table.
Yeah. I don't know about this GUI business. Okay. So we're all deleted there. Let's try it again. Hey Feta, what's up? Just chilling, cushioning, and vibing.
Hey.
Eliza also responded because I have Eliza working. I can pop Eliza off if we wanted to, or you know what else I could do? I'm just gonna kick Eliza from here because I don't need her in here. She's in M3 now. Kick. Chillin', man. Feels good to be alive. What did you get into this week? Working on a project again, 3org. Interactive VR experience allows viewers to explore the Fediverse. It's going to be pretty epic, and I'm excited to show people think about it. I'm also working on a few new pieces of artwork based in the Fediverse. Sounds tight. Smoke any good weed lately? White wit, nice.
Nice.
Nah, man. Live in New York.
It's too bad, man.
Tight. So what's good in the Fediverse? Could you tell me more about it? Now we got the real test. Can it market to me? Can it sell me shit? I wish it wasn't Philip. We need to change the name. Wait, I can fix the name. The name is just a stupid thing. I remember this. Hold up.
In Discord, show it.
It's just in the developer settings. I can go here and I'm gonna save Philip. Okay. So to recap, we got it all working. A few little fits and starts. I'm in the bot view of Discord developer portal, and I click reset token, and I get the token. This is the token you actually need to connect your bot, right here. Reset token. To invite your bot, you need to go to OAuth and you get the client ID, and that's where you invite the bot using that Discord.js link. So now we've got Feta. Oh, right. Did we save him? Yeah, it's Feta now. It's Feta. Great. And then, did we save that? We should make sure we saved this. Right? Oh, weird. He's got a username and he has a general information name. So I must have just not set both of them. How does it update? Am I tripping? It's just good? It's like, yeah, cool, no problem, man. Feta. Alright. Why are you not Feta yet? Oh, you're Feta now. Cool. Alright. So to recap, I'm going to kick him and then I'm going to re-invite him. That way I can get him to be Feta. Because it's just not nearly as impactful without, like, this Philip BS. This is not good. Discord.js.guide. A little bit of Ninja. Now I have his invite. Now let's go back. Bye, Philip. GTFO. Oh, I can also give him bot permissions by giving permissions equals 8. Admin permissions, which glosses over a lot of the other voice stuff that I need if I wanted voice. N3 Eliza. Give you administrator permissions. I'm fine with that. I don't mind if the bot has admin. Pineapple. I have to prove that I'm a bot, not a bot to use a bot. It's something else. And Feta's now here. What up, Feta? That sounds sick. Where can I find more info on your work? Emotional.art. Could you send me a link to the website? Nice. Nice. We did it. We made a bot, guys. All right. Now all I gotta do is convince Jin to invite the bot to M3, and we have Feta all the time, anytime, chilling 24/7. Now I gotta go and figure out how to put this all on my Mac Mini so that I don't have it, like I can't mess with it on accident with my computer, and then it'll just be running forever. Like I have a personal AI box for myself, hope everybody else will get inspired, and you know, we're
I
gonna
need
do
to
this
pick
thing.
one up. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you
I
do, I'll
definitely-
totally like help you get it going. You know, I think it should be at the level where even somebody who doesn't really know how to do, you know, I think you know you can pull something on GitHub and npm run dev it.
Yeah.
And
I already
that
pulled
should,
it with
yeah.
Thoth and stuff. I just didn't build it. Or
I mean, you saw some of the problems we had. We gotta work some of the DevX out, but once we do, I think it should be like anybody can just download that and run it and not worry about it. And, you know, here's a graph. You can edit what you need to. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna turn off this video.